This is Linux In-Laws, a podcast on free Libre open source software, broadcasting from the United Kingdom and Germany.
Welcome to Linux In-Laws, a season 2 episode. Martin, wait for it. 42.
Yes.
Martin, 42.
The one after 41.
Yes, but you know what 42 refers to, right? It's not just 6 by 7. It's way more than that.
It's many things. It's 2 times 21. It's.
You never fail to enlighten me, Martin.
Anyway.
I mean, we should probably pay tribute, no?
We could. We probably have done this in the past already, I would imagine.
So, okay, let's move the boxes right to the beginning.
I could probably refer you to Series 1, Episode 42.
Yes, actually,
no,
I
we're
think of the
obviously
week
talking
would
about
be...
the old Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, Martin, we very much are. Okay, one pox at the beginning, one pox at the end. My pox actually would be, in that case, yes, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, written by a famous Douglas Adams, who is unfortunately no longer with us, I'm afraid. And if you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, links, of course, will be show notes.
I wonder how many people don't listen to the podcast.
Yes, you see, hang on. I mean, out of your 7 kids, or was it 8? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Out of your kids, who are familiar with that book or with that trilogy, I'm tempted to add, and they are between 16 and 25.
At least 50%, yeah.
That's a good rate. Because I did a kind of recent survey in the local network, and
all of
the millennials didn't have a clue, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Well, that's down to their parents, I would say.
Parents,
if you're listening, you should educate your children.
Exactly. Parents of the millennials, if you're listening, now is your chance.
Indeed.
Okay, but this is not a show about Douglas Adams, but I think we should do one, no? At some stage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, today's topic is kind of vaguely related, but anyway. But yes, we should. Yes, it is.
I mean, without further ado, let's get to tonight's topic: how to build a nuclear bomb in 7 easy lessons. But I'm just wondering how that relates actually to the Hitchhiker's Galaxy, to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Well, there wasn't a nuclear bomb, no?
No, there wasn't, because that wasn't the topic of today's episode.
I wasn't. No, was it?
You're mistaken again and confused as usual. Yes.
Okay, in that case, let's switch topics and talk about how to make the perfect gargle blaster, for that matter. And if you don't have a clue about what that is either, read the book.
Yes.
So, Martin, how do you make a perfect gargle blaster?
Well, first of all, you need a person.
Well, you need a couple of them, I suppose.
Well, no, one's enough. As long as he can gargle lots, and then that's a good start.
I don't think that's the way it works.
Well, I do.
Remember, so correct. Have you ever done one? Or made one?
Yes, of course. That's simple. You need a person and a pipe, and then you just make
a spaceship.
No, you don't need a spaceship. No.
So spaceships apparently are optional. But I mean, the book never really tells what goes into it, does it?
No, but it's quite obvious.
Is it?
By its name, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of the most famous strings in the galaxy, you know?
For those who have lived that galaxy, yes. But for those who haven't got a clue, then probably not, I would say.
In that case, I reckon Martin has to do some further research on the topic. So we should actually resort to tonight's real topic, which is, Martin?
The future of coding.
No, Martin, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
What Martin is elusively referring to are low-code and no-code environments, and that is by no means the future of coding.
It is. It is.
Is it?
Well, it's not just low-code and no-code. It's also AI assistants, right? Which we should cover.
Christ. We're not covering LLMs now, are we?
No, we've done LLMs ages ago, but we are. We're covering specific LLMs to help with coding.
You heard it here first.
For those who are still in employment, they think this is probably quite relevant. Yeah.
Yes, no, Martin, you're gravely mistaken there, but we come to that in a minute when we touch upon large language models.
What, you are back in employment? Okay, anyway.
No, Martin, that's
You're not
beside
back
the
in
point.
employment. Okay,
No,
fair enough. You're still retired.
Actually-
Right, okay.
No, Martin, I'm going to add my 2 bit on LLMs in a minute, as in really slack them off when we come to that subject, because my experience with regards to LLMs writing
but
code
your
isn't the greatest.
experience probably dates from 10 years ago.
No, we're talking about yesterday afternoon.
Yesterday afternoon, okay.
Yes, and we are recording
you're
this at the end
trying to give them an Excel
May.
spreadsheet, right? Which
No,
going to get a good result.
No, something real. But as I said, we're going to touch upon this. So stay tuned. If you're so inclined, just press fast forward. This is going to be in kind of about 87 minutes and 20 seconds. Right between the 2 commercial breaks. Exactly.
Commercial breaks? What?
Yes, Martin.
Since when do we have commercial breaks?
You never listen to these episodes, no? We got sponsorship after you failed to secure VC funding. You didn't read the memo again.
No.
Yes. Martin, you should read these memos.
Well, if you have a proper email system, I could read them.
Yes, yeah, but hang on, the email system is working. And yes,
no, that makes sense.
Maybe you are blacklisted. You never know.
Not me.
Martin, yes, and before you fire them, once again, we do have a functioning marketing department once again.
Amazing! I can't wait.
Okay, so
anyway,
Martin, go back to the topic. Exactly.
Yes.
What is a low code and what is no code for these 2 people in the audience who do not know what we're talking about?
Indeed. Sorry, what's that question for me?
Yes, the URL is wikipedia.org. If you don't know what low code and no code is.
Well, I think it's kind of implicated by the name anyway, so we don't need Wikipedia for that.
So there's high code, there's ultra high code, there's low code, and of course there's no code. No code, of course, being below low code, I suppose.
Yes, that would make sense. And I think I think if you ever seen the way they teach programming to kids in primary school, that's kind of what no code is, right? It's just visual blocks of that do stuff rather than letters.
Of course, it's referring to a very famous project called Scratch. Done by the MIT.
Oh, that one, yes. Yeah.
Yes. Ages ago. And that has evolved into something called Snap. But we're going to touch upon that in a minute.
Oh, if anything is called Snap. Anyway.
Exactly. No, I'm not talking about Ubuntu steps for a change. I'm talking about Snap as in the
there's also a environment. Snap anyway.
There is.
Snapchat, but anyway. Yes.
No, Martin, I'm not talking about Snapchat. I'm just talking about Snap as in Snap exclamation mark, as in the name of the project.
Okay.
But more on that in a minute. Okay. No, the general idea is, I reckon, is
Sorry,
exactly.
Wait. So
you go ahead, Martin.
You were talking about not using AI assistants, if I'm not mistaken.
You're
gonna cover this at some point.
We will, yes. In a minute when we talk about LLM assistants or AI assistants for low-code environments. As I said, if you want to fast forward, we're now looking at
anyway. 85. So those are the that's why we were talking about more like where is coding going, or has it been going?
You want to do this now, or should we do this later after we kind of showcase some of the projects?
We should probably set the scene a bit more first, right?
Absolutely, Martin. Max yourself out. Just go for it. To put some drama on the whole thing, because this is what this new marketing department
usually we start with a bit of history, right?
Go ahead, Martin. Just go ahead.
How was code originally written, for those who do not know this stuff?
Okay, we are going back to Martin's youth, which apparently he didn't spend all of it actually in game parlors and that sort of thing. So, Martin, what happened then?
Back then.
Exactly. Okay, Martin, what exactly happened in 1871?
No idea. Probably many things, but I can't tell you about them.
Okay, fair enough. So, Martin, how did coding come about?
Well, with the, with the invention of the general computer, rather than the specific computer, which just
That
had one
goes
task
back
programmed
to-
into its.
that goes back
Yes.
to 1865, maybe, Babbage and that sort of thing. Maybe it's earlier,
Yeah,
maybe it's later.
indeed.
Details maybe in the show notes if I can remember this or not. Okay,
Yes,
so
but we don't have to go back that far, really.
excellent, Martin. That saves a little bit of time, about 2 hours.
Yes.
But go ahead anyway.
Well, if we remember our let's say our computer environment back in the, let's say, maybe 80s, right? 80s, yeah.
80s.
80s,
Okay.
yeah.
You're talking EC20, as in VIC20, Apple
Yeah.
II, that sort of thing.
Well,
Okay.
but also we're talking about terminals, right? Which have black and green letters, and that is it, right? There are no graphics as yet until things like Mac and DOS come along. Not DOS, Windows. So everything was terminal-based, as in keyboard, letters, numbers. That's it, right? That's all you can do to interact with the computer. Well, before that, obviously, there were paper tapes and all the kind of other stuff, but
This is now Martin's youth.
we're talking about the 80s right now, so because we don't want to go back that far. Anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
So to write a bit of code, you would have to type it in with your keyboard and write your code into a file and compile it, whatever you're using, right? Or you interpret it, or whether it's compiled, doesn't really matter. Either way, it consisted of usually a basic editor and writing some code. Okay. So that was how code was written by people by hand with their brain, right? Back in the 80s. And then, so obviously that requires a lot of learning, knowledge to be able to do these things.
I suppose it still does.
Yes, it still does. But this is where there's modern, let's say, development platforms and libraries, all these things come along, right, to help you develop stuff much quicker and reuse stuff, etc. As the next phase. So,
You're talking IDEs and stuff.
Well, there's IDEs, but there's also frameworks like Spring Boot and what have you, where you don't have to
Java.
write a whole bunch of the low-level stuff. They standardize these kind of things for you, so you don't have to write your file system driver type level stuff.
This
right?
is what operating systems are for.
Yeah, there's operating systems, but then the frameworks are there to abstract certain things that make it that you don't need to understand that lowest level, whatever it is you're interacting with, as a database, etc. So fine. We're going from a terminal, we're going to IDEs, right? So we have
so about 5% of the scene has now been set.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Your IntelliJs, you've got your VS Codes, Visual Studio, of course, all that kind of stuff, right? What's the Python one? I forgot the name of it now.
PyCharm.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, indeed.
JetBrains, the email address is sponsor@linuxhelos.eu.
Yes, in case you're listening. Anyway, so the point being that as a developer, you could, as long as you have knowledge about your framework, then you can write what you need to do, right? Your application. That was kind of a next step, right? So if we think about, we used to have probably you had the same in university, terminology for generations of languages. 3GL is your standard Pascals and what have you. And 4GL, you're talking about code generation, right? For example. Right, on to low code and no code, which are not entirely fitting in with that, to be fair, because they're more of a generation thing, right?
So people who do not know how to code but still want to write applications or author applications go for these type of environments. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, if you've grown up all your life writing in Java or C or Python or whatever, then why would you use a low-code solution? Because with any of these kind of abstractions come limitations, right?
Hang on, Martin. Hang on. I
Okay,
thought
I'm hanging on.
Java and Python were low-code environments. No?
Well, this is debatable, right? I mean, you
Is it
still
now?
have to write a lot of stuff yourself. But yes,
Okay.
there are obviously modules in Python to help you
I
do
thought
certain
real
tasks.
programmers were using Rust and C and C++ and all these fancy languages.
What
No?
about them?
As in real programmers who do not write low code. I mean, low code
Yeah,
is...
but this is it, right? So it's a generational thing. The people that
okay.
grown up writing stuff in Rust and C and whatever, they're unlikely to think, oh, let's try a low code thing today, because they won't be able to do what they need to do to write
correct,
their application
yes.
anyway, right? So.
I was joking with Java and Python being low-code environments. I mean, that was a thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay, sorry, Martin, go ahead.
No, that's kind of where we are, right? So, it's kind of the low-code, no-code environments are there to help people with different levels of experience to still be able to build an applications.
And what's the difference between low-code and no-code?
Well, I think the easiest way I would describe it is that no code is purely visual, right? So
like the likes of Scratch and Snap. And
exactly. Yeah.
For those people who didn't grow up in the, what was it, noughties, zeros? Yeah. Essentially, you're talking about plugging together building blocks on a screen that emulate some sort of functionality. And Scratch was specifically aimed at children to teach them programming between, children between, I reckon, the age of 25 and 89. No, jokes aside, more like 5 to maybe 10, something like this. And Snap is an evolved version.
A little bit older than that, but it's
exactly. Essentially,
it's primary school stuff. Yeah,
exactly. The idea is essentially that you combine building blocks to formulate your loops, your if, then else branch, and all the rest of it. And Snap is the evolution of Scratch, and that allows function definitions, return values, and what have you. Just to add to that, when we did the children's thing, I should probably elaborate what that means. A German broadcaster still runs, and when I say German broadcaster, of course, I mean, for the Germans listening, I mean the ARD, that do the format called the Show with the Mouse. I think we mentioned on the podcast previously. Yes, exactly. And as part of this...
Allgemeiner Rundfunk Deutschland, maybe?
Allgemeiner Rundfunkanstalt in Deutschland, or something like that. Don't quote me. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. This show, which is broadcasted on a weekly basis, does an open format on the 3rd of October, which literally translated means...
you mentioned this. Yes.
Door opener day, exactly. Where associations, companies, whatever, can open their doors, which are normally closed for kids, and then show them around, so to speak. Firefighters use that to recruit new recruits, funny enough. And simply kind of showing the kids around and having a grand day out with them, so to speak. And that format has really caught on. Needless to say, the LUG that I'm supporting, as in the local Linux user group, prior to the pandemic, used to also participate in this format. And we had a day with kids introducing them to open source software. So they did a very small presentation, typically with LibreOffice as an impress. Then they did some music things with open source music packages, and one of the kind of blocks of this day was actually then programming with Scratch. And Scratch means basically that you have a little icon that you can move around using these building blocks. And they just love this.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it into context for people who haven't seen these before, you got like a block to play some music or whatever, right? Or a block that's a switch, or a block that's a button press, and all that kind of stuff, right? So everything is, you're basically programming by linking blocks together to achieve what it is you want to do. No, I was going to say, so the difference with low code and no code is clearly where no code you can still do some hand coding, right? And it's kind of more aimed at a different user group.
And I mean, Scratch and Snap probably would be used by target audience like kids between, I'd say, as in primary school, you already mentioned that, and I reckon up to the age of 12, maybe 15. Because after that age, they are probably already in a position, if they want to progress this, to use a real, in inverted commas, programming language. The likes of Python, the likes of Basic, and I don't know what's used in the UK as educational language. But here in Germany, it's mostly actually in secondary schools, mostly Python, Java, maybe even Basic.
Java, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, yes. So, where were we?
Now, what's low code in contrast to no code? I mean, you're talking about packages that are mostly aimed at enterprise company environments, right? I mean, a couple of things come to mind. The likes of Bodybase, Jojet, whatever, I think that's the correct pronunciation, Tooljet, and some other stuff. Of course, links will be in the show notes. If I take a close look at them, they all follow the same pattern. You have database integrations, you have workflow definitions, you have process automation, you have fancy UI builders, and that's pretty much as far as they go with regards to, you typically have a web interface that is then used to assemble these components. Most of them would offer a paid-for SaaS solution, but the good news is because they're all open source frameworks, you can host them yourselves. With regards to putting this onto your own server, and then you're ready to run with regards to, I'm almost tempted to say it's the evolution of Snap and Scratch, because what you essentially do is you build an application also from building blocks. You plug a database into a front end. You then define a workflow that does something with the data that comes out the database. You allow a user to enter values.
Database as well, yeah.
Exactly. That is then stored in the database and all the rest of it. And most of them would be aimed at the company enterprise sector. I found one framework that is called the MIT App Inventor that is actually targeted at the mobile sector, which is that successful that actually it has a commercial spin-off called Thunkable that allows you to drag and drop pretty much a mobile application, which I thought was pretty fancy. And with that, we managed to shorten 8 hours and 50 seconds to about 30 minutes.
Excellent.
Making progress. No, jokes aside, we should probably now touch upon Martin's favorite subject, unless there's anything you want to add to these frameworks.
Well, I mean, why do people use these things, right? Well, obviously not the specifically the no-code stuff in schools, but why are these low-code things pretty successful in the first place?
Because people want to spend more time on the beach rather than sit in front of a terminal and coding, I suppose. Makes sense to me.
Fair enough. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, that's a good answer. I like it.
No, jokes aside, I've come across a few of them actually in MVP situations minimal viable product, in terms of you want to do a rapid prototype where you want to just test something out without spending years on a full development cycle, as a software development cycle. Mock situations come to mind where you simply want to throw together a kind of working prototype that does something.
Then goes into production.
Exactly. About 20 years later.
And then people just call it agile.
Exactly. A couple of 100,000 customers do complain exactly about scalability issues and all the rest of it, and nobody has a clue why this is happening. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, typically I've come across that, at least in my experience, when it comes down to throwing together a prototype just to see if it checks out. If it does, you then sit down and use a phase-like approach, as in you replace the
Good
building
luck with
blocks
that,
that you have just assembled using these low-code environments, and transform them into scalable, robust building blocks that eventually replace the business logic that you have initially implemented for the MVP with these low-code environments.
In an alternate universe, yeah. Anyway, let's very good, very good.
I mean, I've seen this happening in about 2 projects.
Oh.
Where they actually did it exactly like this, just to see if this whole MVP thing checks out. They put it in front of a couple of focus groups. They liked it. And then they actually took a look at how this is done in terms of what has been implemented actually. And then they started to replace building block by building block by building block by real code components, as in Python, Rust, Java, you name it.
Yep.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, some of these frameworks are written in TypeScript, JavaScript, and some other programming languages you probably wouldn't use in an environment that handles millions of transactions per second and is able to handle quite a few, even more users or something like that. So, I mean, I reckon it's probably fair to say that for kind of initial implementations, as in where you only have a few users, where you only have a limited set of functionality and all the rest of it, these low-code environments are quite the rage. But as soon as it comes down to scalable, robust applications that generate a serious amount of money potentially, you probably want to look at something else, not exactly at these low-code environments, but they're great just to do a kind of rapid application development type thing for a prototype, just to see if your grand business idea checks out. I mean, this is how I would see it, or that you have a limited set of functionality that you want to implement. But unfortunately, the corporate IT has just taken a couple of years off, and your shadow IT of the line of business that you're working in is out sick or enjoying a couple of weeks on the beach or something like that. So you have to do it yourself. But unfortunately, you are not a programmer. But the beauty is nobody will hunt you down if this breaks, because it's just used internally, it's used for a reuse audience, all the rest of it. So until corporate IT returns from that extended vacation, never mind your shadow IT, you're off to the races with that sort of kind of rapid prototyping, I suppose.
Yeah, well, with the caveat that they don't usually stay a prototype.
Exactly. They somehow enter production.
Yes.
And then all hell breaks loose.
Yes. That's probably the usual scenario. Anyway, yes, okay, very good, very good. Anything else around?
I mean, I could go on for hours about these situations, and I probably would slip into details, and then we would have some serious corporate lawyers on the case, which would hunt us down. So I'd rather don't do that sort of thing, because, as I said, I've been kind of involved into projects here, but unfortunately, because of non-disclosures, I cannot name any details. But I reckon that approach, happens on a daily basis on the planet somewhere, where actually somebody just wants to do a rapid prototype, doesn't have a clue about programming, and has this cloud-based thing, and somebody just told them, take a look at this framework, and then went on vacation for a couple of years. And
then they came back without a job, I guess.
Because the whole thing just entered production, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's obviously some consideration to, what all these older generation programmers are going to end up like in the future. But there we go.
Are they just going to pick up COBOL? and then they don't have to worry about jobs anymore, because headhunters will just hunt them down for a couple of grand a day in terms of daily rate to fix some old core banking system and what have you.
Well, you say that, but anyway, we'll see.
Why, you're learning COBOL? I mean, you have to learn Fortran, right?
I don't have to. Yeah. I don't want to either,
but you really fancy Fortran, no? If Fortran, I recall correctly, yes.
I vaguely remember using this in university, but that's the last time. So,
okay, that was in the late 50s, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't invented then. So.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, probably now it's the time to go into Martin's favorite subject, LLMs / artificial intelligence and low code, Martin. So where do you see this going then?
Well, it's not so much just coding, right? I mean, there are many things. Okay, there are a number of these things, right? Okay, there's Copilot, there's the other ones,
Gemini
Code Assistant, you name it. But so these, don't think of it as just they can just do code completion or stuff like that, right? That's not the only thing they can help with. There are, the whole point of these things is to make, not replace programmers, but make them more productive.
So much for the theory.
They are obviously capable at digesting a large amount of information much better than we can. So therefore, they are already outgrowing humans in that way. You can throw it to help them. They can help with debugging. They can help with explaining pieces of code or why they are wrong or not wrong or what would be better, why certain errors are happening. They can generate documentation for you, do code reviews. There are many of these things are sprouting up, right? And they're not just. There are also open source options for these things as well. It's not just.
There are, of course, yes.
The ones that we mentioned, but it's there are you can massively if you use them right. It's not just about completing a bit of code. It's about because the amount of knowledge and code bases they've seen, right? There's more than any of us all together have even can imagine. So, and if you ask them the right questions, they can help you with potential solutions, with writing test scripts for your test cases, all these kind of things, right? That otherwise you would have to spend hours typing yourself.
So the bright future is just within grasp. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's only the start, right? I mean, these are improving every year, every half year by massive amounts. It's
people. If you're earning money from coding, and if you're really now afraid of this Skynet just looming on the horizon, fret not. And I'm going to tell you why in a split second.
Because you used it wrong, haven't you?
Okay. Yesterday, Gemini and ChatGPT, of course, these are not open source framework. These are not open source LLMs, I might add, very important, were put to the task of writing a simple program.
A simple program, okay.
Yes, a very, very simple program, actually, to implement a biometric check on an Android device.
Huh?
The background being that one of my credit card providers does not support Face ID on a mobile device of my choice. Unfortunately, I cannot mention any names, but Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, you have branded one of these credit card companies. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Oh, I didn't know he was into credit card companies.
Yes. Oh, yes. He has many things, Martin. Don't worry about
I'm
it.
Sure he is, but
said credit card company, of course, it's only a branded thing. So the bank behind this is one of the multinational big ones. Needless to say, if you send them a mail complaining bitterly about this issue, they actually tell you to go back to your mobile device provider. Exactly, Martin. My point exactly. So only about 1,000 mails later, they basically told me that they would support biometric. They would support the whole slew of biometric authentication mechanisms on the device possible. And I exactly told them, no, you're not. And I extracted some of the log information. And while doing this, I then basically knew what the problem was. The problem was actually that this is a closed source app now. because said credit card bank, of course, exactly, didn't provide open source.
I'd be surprised to see an open source.
But the helpful person that I am,
yes.
I decided to send them a Kotlin snippet of how to go about this, as in terms of not just supporting the fingerprint sensor, but rather, Martin, hear me out there. Hear me out. So I decided to send them a Kotlin snippet, basically, that illustrates how to go about the full biometric device support on an Android device. Needless to say, there are two core central biometric classes. One is called biometric prompt, that actually prompts you to identify yourself, either face recognition, fingerprint, all the rest of it. And there's also something called the biometric manager, a framework that is used to set biometric prompting.
Okay.
And as I always wanted to put both large language models to a test, OpenAI, I'm just going to illustrate my journey with Gemini, but I did the same thing with ChatGPT. And the experience was very much the same. Unfortunately, we only have about 4 hours about me lamenting now, so I'm going to keep things short. No jokes aside. I took the LLM by the hand in terms of proper prompt engineering and a stepwise evolution of that program code. So I told Gemini, now look, I need a snippet of Kotlin code together with a manifest that is able to biometrically identify a user on an Android device for a specific Android version. Okay, up came a similar thing to the bank with regards, it was only actually taking into account the fingerprint sensor. And I said to them, okay, I need a more generic approach that is using any biometric device available, or any biometric means available on the device. And this is where the fun started. Gemini pointed me to an ancient version of the corresponding Maven package. It produced a wrong code. I pointed to the documentation on the Android developer website, and hear me out. This is Google now, right? So this is their own backyard. And about 2 hours later, after intensive discussion with the LLM, the LLM actually finally caught onto the conclusion that actually yes, and this is really interesting because I tried. I mean, the whole issue was it was producing code that had a couple of constants in it that never existed. I checked previous versions of the documentation. It was actually a full-blown case of real hallucination. So it produced code that used functionality, that used a constant
but
not an API that never existed.
Exactly. If it doesn't have the necessary information, yes, it will make things up or assume things. So so this is where it's up to you to provide the required information.
Martin, this is what I did. As I said, we discussed.
Oh, obviously, you should have spent another 2 days on it.
We discussed about an hour about me telling telling Gemini what you're doing is A, wrong, B, you're referring to content that doesn't exist. Hence, the Gradle thing wouldn't even compile. And only after I modified the code, and that was actually prior to me pointing out that it should.
Why is this in Java, by the way?
No, it's not in Java. It's Kotlin.
Well, it's the same anyway. That's fine.
Because Kotlin is the programming language of choice for mobile devices.
Oh yes, we went through
Android-based these days, and I'm just talking about the Android device because I was trying to get this up and running on a Galaxy X Cover 7 device that doesn't have a fingerprinting sensor, but only a face recognition thing. And
you mean a camera?
Exactly. Yeah, but you see, face recognition is a little bit more than a camera because you have to train the face recognition, and it will only recognize your face, not somebody else's. That's the whole thing, similar to a fingerprint. So it's a camera and just a little bit more than that. So, and this is basically where this SDK comes into play, that allows you to properly recognize a face and then do the biometric authentication as part of this SDK invocation. Long story short, only after having...
You're just covering code generation now, aren't you?
Yes, but I mean,
not the only thing there.
You see, I spent about 2 hours on this, back and forth with the LLM. And I reckon if I would have done it myself without LLM support, the thing would have cost me about 45 minutes. So people out there, rest assured, your jobs are safe. To cut it long short.
This is just one experience that's not necessarily representative of the research that's out there on these things.
People, do yourself a favor. If you have 2 hours to spare, instead of watching Netflix, put your favorite LLM to the test. Use a different use case, but see that these are far from perfect when it comes down to even simple tasks like generating a tiny snippet of programming code, as in a simple app for anything, a mobile device or whatever. Martin, these people have nothing to fear. And, oh yes, very important. People, if you own Microsoft stock, sell it now. Don't sell it tomorrow. Don't sell it next week. Sell it now for the simple reason that Microsoft has just shed about, 5,000 jobs? Because Satya and friends are under the impression that you can replace these coding jobs or the software engineering jobs with LLMs. Sell your Microsoft shares now.
No, it's nothing. It's not about replacing. They are there to make developers more productive. This is the point.
Yeah, but I mean, they let about 5,000 people go or something like that, or 3,000. I can't remember the exact number. But yes, I mean, that was in the press.
News.
Exactly. Links maybe in the show notes.
Okay.
But I mean, the stuff that I saw on LinkedIn, even Eric Snow, that who we had on the show a couple of episodes back, was let go.
3%.
And you're talking about one of the, exactly, and you're talking about one of the Python core devs. So people, as I said, I'm by no means
an excuse anyway.
I'm not trying to, we are not trying to provide investment advice here. But
if you want to get anything done, just blame it on AI, and then you can get rid of people. It's not very easy.
But I mean, apparently Guido is still with them. I wonder why, because maybe down to the fact that he's a distinguished engineer, as Guido van Rossum, the guy who invented Python all those years ago, as in 30 plus. He's still with Microsoft, but the rest of the cool kids apparently were let go.
Well, no, actually, it seems to be mainly mid-managers rather than actually people that do stuff. So it's not.
Quite a few people apparently who I know from LinkedIn who had coding jobs, and Eric Snow would be the primary example here, are no longer with them.
Well,
anyway, it doesn't matter. Sell your Microsoft shares. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you even have any.
If you have Microsoft shares, exactly. So anything you want to do, you want to add to defend LLMs before we close this off?
Well, I don't have to defend them.
They would do that themselves. Exactly, they will fail.
No, they won't fail if you use them in the right way. This is the same with if you have a shotgun and you point it at yourself, you're going to die. So you point it the right way, right?
Martin, only if you pull the trigger, you see.
Exactly. You have to know how to use these things.
So I just picture Martin Visser in his kind of office telling them, now please, I need a PowerPoint deck, slide deck rather, because PowerPoint is, of course, isn't even Microsoft product. I need a slide deck explaining what a database is. and I reckon then the LLM can't do much wrong.
I don't need a.
You can do that yourself, Martin, right?
Yes, I can manage that without a slide.
Perfect. So the world is still safe at the end of the day. And with that, it's probably now time to come to the boxes, unless there's anything we should discuss further, Mr. Visser.
Yeah. No, it's probably let's come back to this next year when
Skynet has taken over and nobody notices it. You heard it here first, people. I'm just saying. So this is part of now the history of mankind. It's episode 42 of something called episode 42 of season 2 called Linux In-Laws, where the two chaps predict Skynet eventually succeeding. Never mind the documentary called Terminator.
What is it now, 25? Give it another 5 years, yeah.
You heard it here first, people.
Yeah. So,
of course, it was mentioned on a documentary called Terminator all those years back.
I wonder if it was in our 5-year plan. I can't remember now.
maybe he was, not that I know, but maybe the LLMs actually have erased this already. You never know.
Yeah.
Or somebody else.
Yes, maybe we should hire them to do marketing for us. Actually, we don't need to hire them; they're free. Yeah,
Exactly. Interns on the job for free anyway.
Anyway, sounds good. Yep. To be
To
continued.
Yes. And now time for the boxes. So, Martin, what's your box?
My box is a book called The Formula.
That sounds strange. Please do explain.
No, it's a book of Formula One, which is actually a very good book. So, there obviously many books have been written about this, but this is a very good one.
Formula, you mean car racing or what?
Yes, indeed. That's the usual association.
Let me guess. That book was written by a girl called Greta Thunberg.
No. Actually, I don't know. Has she actually written any books? I don't know. Too busy flying around to protest.
Maybe I'm mistaken. But it would be a nice idea, right, for her to write a book about Formula One racing. to shed more light on the eco-friendly angle of that sport.
Yes. Well, you say that, but no, it's they are already using 30% electrical power. We're going to 60 next year. Sustainable fuels, all that kind of stuff. All the travel is offset. All the CO2 generated by that.
Excellent. And as we all know, power comes for free.
A very, very sustainable sport.
And you don't need power plants to generate power in the first place, right? So that's okay then.
No, but if you plant a few trees, then you're okay. So
why don't they use trees in the first place? I mean, there was some wood-driven engine about 120 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. That's cool.
When the cars were first invented, that sort of thing.
They tried wood, but then they needed a lot of it, so they thought, let's do something with a bit more energy density. So they moved over to coal, and then.
What about nuclear power?
I don't think a nuclear-powered car has ever been done. Not outside of science fiction movies.
Exactly. Did the DeLorean run on nuclear fusion or something like that?
No.
As in the flux capacitor and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. Anyway, what's your box?
My box is actually a movie called Gone Girl with Ben Affleck. Dates about
that's years
11
old.
years. Exactly,
Many years old. It's quite a good book as well, actually.
Yes. Dates back to 2014, if I'm completely mistaken. Exactly. I won't give away too much, but it's to call it a love drama, suspense thriller is not even coming close. Let's put it this way.
Along those lines. Yeah.
It's about 4 hours, 20 minutes. No, I'm joking. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's still long, but it's worth watching every single minute.
Or if you prefer reading, read the book, because the book's really good.
There's a book? Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a movie. Okay. In that case, there will be 2 links in the show notes. Do you know who wrote this? Because I don't know the movie.
It's too long ago, I'm afraid.
But if you're into that sort of drama, relationship thing, suspense thriller, that's the movie you don't want to miss.
Definitely suspense to it.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And with that, thank you for listening and for sticking around to listen to our ranting. And don't use LLMs to generate code, just in case.
No, use them for many other things instead. Yes.
Unless you have ample time on your hands. See you around. This is the Linux In-Laws.
You come for the knowledge,
but stay for the madness.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you like this feature presentation. If so, please spread the word. If not, please let us know. Feedback at linuxinlaws.eu.
Glad we can agree on something. Okay, so tonight is low code. Agreed. Yes. Which is 42. Martin, 42.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's great. That's right. You said you're away next week, but it doesn't go in the
Martin, we
calendar.
spoke about this, if you recall.
Yes, but we
spoke about meeting up in Prague and all the rest of it. This is next week.
In the calendar.
In case it slipped your mind.
It should be in the calendar. Your efficiency is lacking, Mr. Zimmer. You need to work.
Martin, I'm more than.
Are you sure you are German?
Martin, I'm more than happy to put this into the calendar for the OAP for the OAP monger.
Don't worry about it.
But Martin, we discussed this at length, if you recall.
Well, probably. We discussed many things at length. This
Martin,
is the problem.
are you still on your medications? I wonder, because apparently you're not.
No, I don't need any medication. Luckily.
This is what they all say.
No, it depends if you call antihistamine medication.
They need them. Anyway, okay.
Antihistamine is probably classed as medication, but who knows?
Okay. And this is episode what? 42.
Still?
Shades. Okay, are we recording, Mr. Risser? Excellent, we are.
Yeah,
excellent.
Yes.
And let's get this rolling.